Hey guys, this is Coach Charles with Fit Health here in Herndon, Virginia. We've been working on this series of 8 habits and behavioral changes that you want to have in your life so that you can have permanent fat loss and stay in shape for the rest of your life. Alright, so why do I have a big stick today? There's a saying that I came across many years ago that I like to bring to people's attention. We don't grow old and decrepit because we increase our age. It's actually the opposite. We grow old and decrepit because we stop moving. Okay, so think about that a little bit. Think of people in your 70s that you've met that can barely get out of a chair, wouldn't even think about getting into, say, a sports car, walking up and down stairs. It's not even something that they can do anymore. And then you meet other people in their 70s and they're able to go walk 5 or 6 miles. They can run up and down stairs. They can get down on all fours and do bear crawls and things like that. Get down on the ground and play with grandchildren, run around in the backyard, all of these various kinds of things. And so what's that difference? One 70-year-old appears to be ancient, can barely move and needs help for many different things, and the other 70-year-old is considered spry. That's what we used to call it when I was a kid. Hey Joe, he's spry. Man, he can really get around. And so in interviewing a whole lot of people over time, what I've come to find in this big difference is those who focused on their mobility throughout their life were able to keep it, and they don't feel 70 years old. And those who did not focus on their mobility lost it. And people start losing their mobility in their early 20s. It's pretty amazing. And so by the time you're my age, 47, you may not be able to bend over and touch your toes at all. Getting out of a deep chair might be really quite difficult. You may not be able to raise your arm all the way overhead. Just doing basic things, reaching across and grabbing the seatbelt in your car. I can't reach it, I can't reach back for it, this type of thing. We lose the ability to take the arm and rotate back. So many different things. And each one of these losses of mobility brings pain, discomfort, and it impacts our life. It causes us subconsciously to stop doing things. Somebody asks you to go play tennis. No, I can't go play tennis because you're worried about your shoulder falling off. You can't throw the baseball to a younger child who wants to throw the baseball back and forth because you're worried about your elbow or your wrist. You can't get down on your hands and knees because you don't think you'll be able to get back up again, or you're very much worried about putting that pressure on a particular knee. So, a behavior that we should all adopt is a focus on our mobility and focusing on that mobility daily, okay? So taking something like a stick and being able to bring it behind you, right? You want to keep your shoulders nice and healthy by being able to move all the way through. You want to be able to bend down and touch your toes no matter what your age is. You should be able to get down into a really deep squat, where one person called it ass to grass. Basically, your hamstrings are sitting on your calves, and you're able to sit like that. And you want to be able to work up until you can do that for, say, 10 minutes. And you don't want to have to be warmed up. You just want to be able to sit down and do that for 10 minutes. So how do you focus on making the behavioral change around mobility? Some general steps that people have taken over the years is when you're presented with something like an elevator, hey, take the stairs. So this is making your ankles and your knees and your hips all work through their larger ranges of motion, especially compared to just walking around. Some people will spend 5 minutes doing various kinds of stretches right before bed or while they're watching TV at night. Some people take 2 or 3 minutes right before lunch every day and go through some mobility work. So with all behaviors, you have to learn a few things, and so you'll want to learn what types of exercises and stretches you can do for all the major joints in your body. And probably the biggest reason why I think the average person would want to start focusing on their mobility as a daily behavior is to avoid back pain and knee pain. These are the two biggest issues that I hear day in and day out in my fitness practice. Why do we have these problems? Probably mostly from sitting all the time, right? We sit to drive to work, we sit to eat lunch, we sit to work at the computer, we sit to rest, we sit all day long. There's even been studies out there that saying sitting is more hazardous to our health than smoking cigarettes. Pretty interesting when you think about it. All right, so if you're going to bring mobility as an active behavior into your life, it's time to start learning about what all of your joints are supposed to do and then test yourself, right? Like if you're trying to move your shoulder up and this is all the further it's going to go, what do you need to do to improve the mobility of your shoulder so you can go all the way overhead, right? You don't want any shoulder problems trying to reach up into the cabinets or being out on a shelf in your garage, that type of thing. If you can't sit all the way down onto your heels and just rest there for a couple of minutes, that's what we call the human rest position. Every person in every third world country is able to do this virtually all day long if they needed to, because they've been doing it since they were young kids their entire lives. It's a necessity. It's a skill, basically the way a person would go to the bathroom, right? So over here sometimes we think, oh, that's crazy, the person can sit down into that position. But it's basic human mobility, is the ability to get down into a deep squat and hold it for a significant period of time. So if you can't do these things, start learning what is keeping you from doing them and start actively spending time daily improving your mobility with all of your major joints, like your ankles, your knees, your hips, your spine, your shoulders, your elbows, and your wrists. And for me, I had ignored things in my neck for a long time, staring down at the cell phone, sending texts and such all day long with clients, watching videos on my phone. I used to watch videos while I was walking. It was taking all of my joints out of alignment, and that was a good 2-3 year long battle trying to figure out how to reduce all that pain and get my neck back into good operating mode, right? But you can avoid all these things, and even if you are having problems with your back, your hips, your knees, your neck, there are things that you can do right now to start improving your mobility, to improve the strength around those joints, and to improve your flexibility, and you will start noticing a difference in your life. You'll have more energy. You'll feel like doing things you haven't felt like doing in a long time, right? Suddenly walking up and down flights of stairs is no big deal anymore. Getting down to the ground to pick something up off the ground, you don't even think about it anymore. You just get down on the ground and pick it up. You stop having to ask people for help to do things. Hey, I can't pick this up. I'm worried about my back. You just walk up and you pick it up. You learn how to pick it up correctly and move it to where you need to go. Let's just say life is a lot easier when you have your mobility, and life is much more difficult when you don't have your mobility. Okay? So, let me know if you have any questions or comments down below, and I'll be sure to get back to you. And we'll be collecting some common questions and such to go over at probably the last video in this series. Okay, so I think this is behavior number 5 that we're talking about. And we got like 3 more major behaviors that we're going to be going over. Behavioral changes that you can make in your life to achieve permanent weight fat loss. And then we'll go over those questions and answers. Take care. We'll see you next time.